Welcome to The Conversation, a tool created by the Behavior Barriers team for you, the parents and guardians of our students in Denver Public Schools. We hope at the end of this, you understand the importance and impact of self care, build confidence in behavior strategies, and increase communication with schools and advocate for your child. I want to start by asking the question: what are you doing to take care of yourself? Oftentimes, we forget that we are not machines. As a parent myself, I understand the pressure and importance of making sure our children are taken care of, but it is equally as important that we model to our children the importance of taking care of ourselves. Because the reality is, if I'm not taking care of myself, they are not getting the best parts of me, and they deserve my best. So I ask again, what are you doing to take care of yourself? If you are unable to answer, that's okay. But I challenge you to take some time to reflect on what you need. What small step can you take? Maybe this looks like an extra glass of water every day. It may look like taking a walk around the block to have some time to yourself to think and reflect. Maybe it looks like 10 minutes a day from your favorite book, or even dedicating time to pop in some headphones and listen to music or your favorite podcast. It may even look like tending to your garden. Whatever it is, make sure it's something that fills your cup, that contributes to making you feel whole. Everything we do, including how we take care of ourselves, has an impact on our children. Let's explore that impact through a poem, Family Tree by Allison Jean Thomas. It seems strange to me that a family tree is drawn from the top of the page. Instead, draw mine with roots deeply planted in firm ground, like forefathers whose stories retold nourish us. Draw the trunk, giving support and power, strongly branching out so that young shoots can reach high, and buds, some yet unfurled, may catch dreams in sunlight. You are the roots, giving support and strength to who your child is growing into. Now, in terms of seeing ourselves and our children as trees, which do you see your child as? Take a moment to consider the areas in which you would like to see your child flourish. Now, take a moment to consider how you feel your child is seen at the school they attend. Are they seen as a tree that bears no fruit or one that is unique and beautiful? Examine the background of the flourishing tree. The other trees are a representation of support from individuals who are around your child. This brings us to the question: how is your child being supported in school? Ask yourself, who can I talk to? How can I answer this question? What is in place to make sure my child feels supported at school? Who makes me feel supported at the school? Who is my child's person? These are all questions you can explore to begin to answer that question for yourself. It is important that we explore these questions as a foundational tool in communication and collaboration with schools. In the event of a phone call from a teacher or staff member to inform you of a challenging behavior exhibited by your child, here are some additional questions and approaches that can be used. First and foremost, is my child safe and is my child calm? Once that is established, if you want to get deeper clarification, you may ask, can we schedule a meeting to talk through this situation? If you aren't able to talk at that moment, you may say, I'm at work or I'm busy right now. I will call you back at a specific time. If you are able to talk at that moment, here are some questions you can ask. What happened? What happened right before this event? What was the teacher's response? Will my child give me the same story? What restorative conversation will occur after this? And what does that look like? Going into a meeting, it is important to consider where you are and what your focus is. Now ask yourself, what do I really want for my child? What does my child need? What do I need? What are my self calming techniques? How can I use those before entering a meeting when I feel I may be triggered? How do I respond when I feel me or my child is being attacked? I want to stress that you are not limited to these questions. Have your own process of checking in, and most importantly, center your child and what you feel is best for them as you are the expert. Whether it's a phone call or an actual meeting, it would be beneficial to check in with yourself before, after, or both. Take a minute, a mindful minute, an uninterrupted pause to breathe. After that moment of grounding, here are some reflective questions to ask yourself. Do I feel that race is a factor? What is my gut telling me? Does this sound like my child? Have I heard both sides of the story? Remember, all behavior is communication. What is your child trying to communicate? They are trying to solve a problem in the only way they know how. If they can't tell you the why, and by they, I mean teachers and staff, how are they putting interventions in place to support your child? What is the function of the behavior? They should be able to tell you the function based on current and consistent data they have taken for repetitive behaviors. The function is the why behind the behavior, what the behavior is seeking or avoiding. There are three main functions: connection, sensory, and activities or tangibles. Your child may be seeking or avoiding connection. You may also hear it referred to as attention, but it's deeper than that. It is rooted in the need or avoidance of connection. This can be positive or negative from peers or adults. Your child may be seeking or avoiding sensory input or output. It may be too loud or too quiet, too bright or too dark. They may need to stretch or move, feel deep pressure, or remove an irritant. Hunger may be a part of this. And finally, your child may be seeking or avoiding activities or tangibles. Tangibles are items such as a fidget or a toy. They may be seeking preferred activities or avoiding tasks that are challenging or difficult. Food may be a part of this as well. A part of determining the function is considering the antecedent, or what happened before the behavior occurred, the trigger or stressor. When and where does the behavior occur most frequently? Is it around certain people? During certain activities? When and where does the behavior not occur? Where does your child thrive? What do you do that is proactive? What are the strategies you use to prevent the behavior before it happens? An example may be at home, I have my child get their clothes ready the day before so they can be prepared and ready for school the next day. Maybe at school, you can have them prepare their materials before the lesson to minimize distraction. What works? What doesn't work? Let's also consider reactive strategies. What reactive strategies do you use? Strategies after the behavior has occurred. You know your child best. An example would be when they refuse to put their toys away, I tell them they can choose to put the toys away now and play with them again tomorrow, or they can choose to refuse and give up that privilege tomorrow. You may want to suggest maybe there's a way you can use this strategy at school. Or you may ask, what strategies are you using at school that I can use at home? This should always be a collaborative effort. An important thing to consider is co regulation. This is a visual representation of how behavior affects behavior. Take a second to look at the two graphs. What similarities do you notice? What differences do you notice? On both graphs, the child starts at terror. Notice how the graph on the right shows the adult rising to the emotional state of the child. In this example, the child nor the adult de escalate to a place of calm. But the graph on the left shows the child meeting the adult where they are in a state of calm. Our presence is so powerful. As stated before, behavior influences behavior. So, our ability to remain calm during moments of escalated behavior can play a major role in inviting our child to move from a heightened state to a more regulated disposition. This is important to remember at home and school alike. Let's switch gears and do a quick activity. Take a look around the room and make a mental note of everything that is red. I'll be asking you to close your eyes and name those things in just a moment. Let's give about 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I invite you to close your eyes. I promise it's okay. With your eyes closed, think about everything around you that is green. That's not what I asked for initially, is it? Did you find it more difficult to think about green items? Why was it so hard to find what you weren't looking for? Because your mind was only focused on finding all things red. That tunnel vision probably prevented you from even noticing the way you would have if you knew to look for green. So, what am I trying to say? We find what we look for. Let's move into another activity. Grab something to write with and something to write on. Now, write down everything you love about your child, their strengths, the things you love, things they amaze you with, their skills. Even write down the things that get on your nerves or bother you, but are strengths nonetheless. Sit that list to the side, and we will come back to it in just a second. Challenging kids do not lack the will to behave well, they lack the skills to behave well. Skills like problem solving, like flexibility, like frustration tolerance. I believe kids do well if they can. I have yet to meet a kid that prefers doing poorly to doing well. Dr. J. Stewart Ablon. Any challenging behavior we see in our young ones is not because they just want to, they are utilizing the tools they have. It is up to us as the adults to use the knowledge and resources we have to teach them skills and give them tools that are effective and productive. Our children are not lacking the will to behave well, they are lacking the skills to behave well. Let's get that list back out. Look at the list you made of your child's strengths. What skills stand out that enable them to be successful in life? How does this skill liberate them? Remember, our children possess greatness, and teaching skills does not mean teaching them out of themselves. Things that may seem challenging may just be underdeveloped characteristics that will eventually turn into tools that will be assets for them in life. So I stress Their strengths are not to be controlled to make other people feel comfortable. We must make the choice to be committed advocates for our children and what they possess. Greatness may often require patience. They are worth the fight and the effort. So, how do we bridge the gap that may exist in schools? Remember, you are the expert. How can you help the teacher see your child's greatness? How can you coach the teacher on how to respond? Do you need to include someone else to help support? Remember, resistance invites resistance. So, how do I use my approach to invite the responses I need for the success of my child? The final and possibly most important view is our lens of safety. The term safety is often used as a guise to further perpetuate the criminalization of Black and Indigenous people of color. It is no secret that racism, bias, and inequities exist within the education system. Our children are often affected by systems of oppression, and we need to be aware of that, especially in discipline. It is not okay. Watch out for language like assault, attacked, theft, offense, unsafe, especially in our elementary age children. And there are strict rules for school staff to restrain or go hands on with students. If you would like to explore policies and procedures related to discipline, it can be found under Policy JK R, Student Conduct and Discipline Procedures, which are the discipline procedures followed by Denver Public Schools. Punitive approaches are not conducive to growth and do not teach skills. It should not be about punishment or compliance, but rather skill building. When the school responds to challenging behavior with your child, some questions to ask are: what skills are you trying to teach my child? What is your restorative process? Does the response make sense for the behavior? Punishment is about the adult, not the child. Every response should be centered in teaching, not making the child hurt because we are upset. Our power and position as adults should never be used as a tool to be vindictive. Now, do not mistake this view as being passive. There should always be boundaries, standards of character, and of course, responses to challenging and non challenging behavior. As we are teaching, sometimes there are negative consequences, but the bottom line is safety is us. Safety is within the adults in the school that have committed to the responsibility of caring for your child when you are not there. It comes from within. And like we stated before, behavior affects behavior. And it is not the burden of the child to create a safe space. It is up to the adults. So, what will your narrative be? There is often a stigma associated with being a child who has challenging behavior, and that can affect the way your child sees themselves. How do we prevent pieces of them from being lost in their educational journey? How do we take back what was stolen? How do we rewrite the story? You do not have to accept what the school gives you. You are the expert and should always be at the table. There should be a collaborative effort, and it should not exclude your voice or your presence. The school should be there for you. The expectation that the schools value, love, and honor your child is not a far reach. Using the tools discussed in this presentation are your way of holding us accountable. You are not the angry parent. You are the advocate and voice for your most prized possession, your child, your baby. And finally, you are enough. Again, as a parent, I understand that it is not always easy. Some days are harder than others. You may not always feel like you have the answers. And guess what? You don't. and that's okay. That doesn't diminish the truth that you are enough and you always have been. When you don't feel equipped, who can you reach out to? What resources can you use? How do you get what you need? What does your support system look like? And of course, how are you taking care of yourself so you can remain on a solid foundation to continue to be what your child needs when they need it? But I cannot say enough that you are enough. You are enough. You are enough. You got this. And we from the Behavior Barriers team thank you for watching our presentation. For additional resources, please sign up for our newsletter, check out our podcast, and visit our YouTube channel. And know that we are dedicated to supporting you and your child. Thank you.